Hey, what is up guys, Michael here from TechDiffuse, and in this video I will show you how you can use string indexing in Python. Alright guys, so let's start with string indexing. Okay, first of all, I want to show you an example with an easy word. For instance, you see here on my screen, we have the word Python. So the idea of string indexing is that every char has its own value. So for instance, the first char has the value 0. So typically in computer languages and programming, you start counting by 0 and not by 1. So the first char gets the 0. The second one, the y gets the 1, the t gets the 2, and so on. So that means we are at the end, and we have 0 to 5 for Python. Okay, so far so good. Let's try it out. What I mean by that. So we make a word, and our word is called Python, as it's written here. And yeah, let's see what happens if we print it out. So we print our word. We make squared brackets and we type in the 0. We execute and we see we have our P here. Okay, so the word at number 0 is evaluated to P. This is what we expected. So we make it again with 1. We get a Y. A 2, we get a T. With 4, we got an O, and 5, we got an N. So this is pretty much everything about string indexing. Okay, what happens if we type a 6 in here? Okay, boom, we get an error. It's an index error, string index out of range, and this is exactly what's to be expected. The number 6 would be somewhere here, and this is not part of the string. So this is the index out of range, and this is totally fine. So get rid of that, make it somewhere inside the string, and we're good. Okay, so this doesn't work in the forward direction. This also works in the backwards direction. Okay, what I mean by that? So we take the same example, and we make it backwards. So for instance, we have here minus 6, minus 5, minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, and minus 1. Okay, so you might ask yourself, what's going on here? Actually, it's not that complicated. It's pretty easy. It's the same thing we done forward as we do backwards now. So forward, we started with the 0. As we said, the 0 is the first number when you start counting in a computer language. So we have the P. And the first number from the back of the string, in this case, you might think, okay, we start with 0. Why isn't it minus 0? The problem is we cannot we cannot distinguish between plus 0 and minus 0. So if we execute minus 0, we have also P. So the values for 0 and minus 0 evaluate to the same char in the in our example. So this is the reason why we don't start with minus 0, but we start with minus 1. So if you start with minus 1, we see we come here at the string. So you can imagine we stand here with a starting point, and if we have a positive number, we go in this direction, and if we have a negative number, we go in the other direction, to the left. And to the left means we come back again here at the end. That's simple. And it goes on like this. So minus 1 is evaluated to n, minus 2 is evaluated to O, so we go further left, minus 3 to H, minus 4 to T, 5 to y, and 6 finally to p, our first number. And if I put -7 here, we again get a string index out of range error. So the same thing, if we put the 6, the positive number here, we want to try to go from the left to the far right and one another, and it doesn't work. And the same thing here, we go from the far right to the far left and one another, -7, it also doesn't work. So this is the reason why we get an index out of range error. And this is pretty much it. Everything you need to know about string indexing. Okay, Python also provided us with an inbuilt length function. So with the length function, we can get the length of the string. So for instance, we have our word. We just write len, the brackets, and write word. We execute it, so nothing happens. We put it into a print variable and execute, and there you go. We have the length 6, and that's totally fine. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chars in this word. So don't be confused now. As I said, we started counting at 0, and 6 values from 0, and the last value is the 5. So, but actually these are 6 values. So this can be a typical error in computer programming, but don't be confused, you get used to it. So the last number is the 5, but actually the length is 6, because we started counting at 0. Okay, and this also means if we combine the length with the indexing, we get the following. So we have our word, and we make our brackets, and we put now length word into the brackets. So what would you imagine will happen? So what will happen is the length word was evaluated to 6, and we've also learned that we have the maximum indices from 0 to 5. So we expect that if we have word length word, it would be evaluated to word 6, and word 6 will be indexed out of range. And this is exactly what happens. So take care that you cannot do this, but you can make -1, and then you're good. You have the last string, you have the last char of the string. And this is typical in programming, that you take the length of something and make -1, and then you have the last element, because we're counting always from 0. You will see this often in programming, so get used to it. But what we also learned is that when we count backwards, we started by -1. So this means if we start by -1, we can take we make something like this, length word, and put a minus in front. We have -6, okay? And -6 is correct indice for our string indexing. And if we get the index now from this one, there you go, we expect, all right, the first char in the word. So again, string indexing with the minus lang works. String index with a positive lang, we have to take care and take one up, and then we're good. So these are some applications for string indexing in Python. Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you've learned something. And if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up, like and subscribe. And yeah, see you in the next one.